Hi there and welcome to the Wellness Channel. Today we are going to be talking about senses. Now, how well do you think you know your senses? Your sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. How well do you really know them? How in tune with them are you? If I asked you what you could smell right now, could you tell me? If I asked you how that smell affects your taste buds, would you know? These are things that you need to know to be able to calm yourself in times of stress or anxiety. Now, this is a tip that is quite nicely called the 5x5. And anybody who knows me will know that I love a good 5x5 rule, as it does encompass everything that we are in tune to within our own bodies. Now, to be able to do the 5x5, you have to really understand how your surroundings affect your central nervous system and how your surroundings may actually be able to influence you in how you deal with stress or anxiety. Now, when you are approaching a situation that has any amount of stress or anxiety or anything that just makes you feel a little bit nervous, the 5x5 rule is there to help you calm your breathing and calm your heart rate. So what you would need to do in order to complete the 5x5 rule in a nice and calm manner is to be able to first regulate your breathing. So to regulate your breathing, you take note of how your breath enters and leaves your body. To make your breath enter your body in a natural way, you take your time breathing. So count to 3 on every in-breath and count to 3 on every out-breath. Obviously in your head, don't try and count and breathe at the same time out loud. It doesn't really work that way and it's quite ineffective. So make sure you do notice how your breath goes in and how it goes out. Now, some people do only breathe into their chest, and you'll notice that when you breathe, you feel your chest becoming more full. Now, what you need to try and do is push that breath all the way down to your diaphragm, so the very bottom of your breathing capacity in the very depths of your lungs. So you need to breathe in, and a quote from one of my favourite films is actually, "It's okay to look fat." And that is in terms of breathing. So when you breathe in, you are meant to inflate, and to fully inflate, your stomach and the bottom of your rib cage should expand. Now, a lot of people don't actually use their lungs to the full extent, and they will forever breathe into their chest. And whilst it's not an issue, and it's perfectly fine if you do that, there's nobody saying that it is wrong, it just doesn't use your lungs to their full capacity. So to use the 5x5 rule in terms of your breathing, it's actually quite nice to stick to the number 5. So maybe instead of breathing in for the 3 and out for 3, you could breathe in for 5, hold it for 5, breathe out, and then wait for 5 before your next breath. Now, this actually encourages you to use your full lung capacity, and it encourages you to empty all of the oxidants from your lungs and from your system. So when you're breathing in, you breathe in and you hold all the way into your diaphragm. And when you breathe out and you push. There's always a little bit more that you can push out in terms of your breath. And if you count to the 5, nice and slow, you will be able to push as many oxidants out of your body as possible. Now, once you've regulated your breathing, it's time to trust that your body can carry on with that breathing level. So you've regulated, you've brought your heart rate down, you've done the counting for 5 in and out and holding your breath. You then let your body use your breathing in a controlled, slow manner. So it's quite nice to imagine the air, the oxygen going into your breath, down your throat and into the bottom of your lungs. Imagine it as it's happening, and when it comes out, imagine it's coming straight back out. And it's quite nice to visualize that sometimes. So once you've had your breathing slowed down, regulated, it's time to concentrate on your senses. So when you're in one of these situations that you feel you need to calm and relax from, it is encouraged by the 5x5 rule to notice 5 things that are to do with your 5 senses. So 5 things you can see, 5 things you can hear, 5 things you can taste, touch and smell, and so on. Now, if you get to the point where you're more than happy to just notice 5 of the random things, maybe take it up a level and notice things that are following a theme. So maybe 5 things that are green, or 5 things that are non-food smells, 5 things that relate to each other, and so on and so forth. Now, you can use anything for these themes. Like I said, you can use colours, shapes, specific interests. So maybe if it's a flower or a feather, something like that, you can use those as your interests. One of mine is insects that I use, and more so dragonflies, we use insects. All of these things can be used as themes, and they don't have to relate to each other, the senses, so you don't have to find 5 things you can see and smell at the same time. You can treat them completely different. But what you're actually doing in this situation is changing your brain from being in a panicked mode and your anxiety levels up, your heart rate up, you're changing that to become a lot more focused and a lot more grounded. And because you've done this in a way that isn't stressful, and it's not like it's an attack on your nervous system, you have actually created a coping mechanism just by using something that is such a natural instinct, which is your senses. And in this way, you are actually making sure that you are way more in touch with your senses than you ever may have thought possible. I use this 5x5 rule most days, even when I'm not in an anxious mood. Sometimes it's nice to just practice it. And it's actually a really useful tool to use with children or anybody who has an extra sensitive atmosphere in terms of being overwhelmed or having sensory overload. It's nice to let them focus on specific things in the environment rather than try and take on everything at the same time. And you can actually turn it into quite a fun game if you've got younger children. We do it quite a lot in our household and in our family. It's just a really nice way of making sure that you are in touch with your senses. Your senses have been given to you. It's a natural instinct. It's something that your body automatically does, and they all, in their own way, send signals to your brain to create a different form of receptive sense. So it's really nice to be able to get in touch with it and make sure that it's something that you can do even without noticing it and concentrating on it so hard. Once you've got used to doing it as something that you've thought about, it does just come a lot more naturally. So that's a little intake into the 5x5 rule, and I'm sure you'll see a more in-depth version as we go along and more videos come out. But it's been really nice to talk to you, and please do keep coming back for more videos. Like we said in an earlier video, this channel is going to be focusing on a lot of things that are maybe coping mechanisms or strategies to help you with a nice wellness feeling in your physicality and your mental health. So until next time, until next week, see you later, and stick with us. Bye.